Cue us. Yeah, go ahead and cue us.
And we're back, guys, at the Radio Rejekts podcast. I am Sabby.
I'm Lou, and we'll have our guests introduced. I was trying to figure out a way, like, how do I, because, like, I was doing the notes before the podcast, and I was like, okay, he does this and that, and then that, and then that, and I was like, okay, so what do I like your professional title too? So I'll just have you just introduce yourself, and then, like, what would you technically, I guess, your professional setting?
Well, when it comes to the production company that I'm with, it's mainly just a senior executive producer, and I also just run like the national talent for our girls. And my name is Edgar Guzman.
Honor to have you here, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you have, out of our guests in the past, you have a lot of things that you associate with too, because you do choreographing.
Yes, not so much anymore. It's mainly just when I do the things with the pageants. That's mainly not when I choreograph. But in the past, I did really like delve in it when I was dancing.
Okay, so just to kind of jump right into it, how does someone get involved in this career path? Or not just how does someone get involved in it, and how do you yourself, like, how did you get involved in wanting to do this? Was it something prior to this kind of opportunity getting brought to you? Did you were like, yes, this is what I've always wanted to do, or was it something that you kind of just naturally were gifted at the coordination of these things and all that?
So never in a million years did I ever think I was going to get involved in this industry by any means. To my knowledge and kind of what I've noticed, you kind of have to know people to get into this industry.
Yeah.
Because it is a very small industry. The pageant industry is very huge around the world, but it's actually very small in the United States, technically. You know, people look at the United States like, oh my God, it's USA. But overall, like, pageants aren't that huge here. Within the community, it's glorious. But I never thought I'd get involved in it. I got introduced into this back like in 2010, 2011. And it was with just like a group of people I was hanging out with at the time. We were watching like Nuestra Belleza Latina and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I got introduced into the Miss USA, Miss Universe world, and I kind of started watching it on my own. And I was just like, wow, it's so cool. My beautiful girls on stage. I was like, oh, great. And then one of my friends, her name is Cynthia Jaramillo, she brought me on to who is my team now, and when they had Miss Illinois Latina. And she's like, hey, they need a choreographer. She's like, I know you dance, you choreograph. She's like, we need someone to come in. Can you come in and, teach the girls opening number? I was like, sure, why not? I'm like, this is different. I've never done this before. What am I getting myself involved in? And so I went in, I taught the opening number, and then I was there backstage helping them out. Not so much backstage, more like front of the house, because I don't like to be backstage where the girls are changing. Yeah. I'd have felt like respected in the day. But I was there, seeing where I can be helping them out. And then afterwards, I met the team, which was like her, then Israel, Hernan, and I think it was another Cynthia at the time. And I forget the other people. But then they were like, hey, we really like the way you work. We want you to come back year after year and teach. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so I came back the following year, and then I came back the year after that. And then afterwards, when they finally, told me, like, we want you to be a part of this team. Mm-hmm. We really like the way you work. We really like the way you catch on to things. Who I call my boss, Hernan Rivera, he's like, you get me. He's like, you understand the way things are like to be done. He's like, we connect very well. He's like, I want you on my side of the production, which is like the creative side. So then they brought me on, and then I just kind of started getting involved, and then we had the opportunity to host the national pageant for the teen division at that time here in Illinois. And then
what year was this?
2016.
Okay.
2017.
And that was like your entry year, or this?
That was when I officially got into the industry.
Awesome.
Like officially. Yeah, sorry. You asked that and I completely forgot to answer that question.
I mean, that's what I'm saying is, like, you have so much. If you go into someone's bio, I was like, okay, so where do we start? You have so much. And then you go to the individual's bios as far as like the production side of it too as well. They have so much in there as far as like what they handle, because I'm assuming it's H&I, right?
Yeah, H&I Grand Productions.
It's not just, like you say, like a Miss Universe. They handle several things, even though you say it's not necessarily so big. Here in America, they still handle multiple, I guess, what would you consider them? There are multiple competitions, but multiple
licenses to different competitions and organizations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, you are also involved in every individual one, or you
Yeah.
just kind of handle certain ones?
So what it is H&I Grand Productions holds licenses to three systems for the United States that go compete internationally.
Okay.
We have Miss Grand United States, then we have Miss Supranational USA, and then we have Miss Eco USA and Miss Eco Teen USA. And both of those are just from one division on its own.
Okay.
So we handle the production and we handle the training of the girls, and that will go compete internationally at some time
Okay.
and during the reign.
So,
Real quick, what's the difference between eco? Like, what are those stages?
For between the three?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So Miss Grand United States is all about stopping the war and violence. And it's also your like supermodel, Instagram girl, at the end of the day. So their mission is to, bring beauty into, a world where they need more change to happen, because there's so much violence going on nowadays and there's so much hatred. Miss Supranational USA, they're more about inspiration and aspirations. They want the girl to be able to be relatable. They want her to be able to inspire others. They want others to aspire to be her at the end of the day, without being like too far off and unrealistic. And then Miss Eco USA, Miss Eco Teen USA, they're about like ecotourism. They love to talk about the environment, but they also want to talk about how that can help the tourist sides of things at the end of the day. So those would be like the three main differences.
I'm like blown away right now. That it's not well, because I'm like when I was talking to.
It's about having the looks, but towards a purpose.
Yes.
I think that's what I'm trying to, when I got across to get you as a guest. This was something that was fascinating to me, because it's like we can talk to people that we kind of know that background of what they do and similar things, and it's familiar, rather than I'd rather have guests that I'm like, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
This is completely foreign. It's bizarre to me that I wouldn't even comprehend that each individual one is tailored around specific, not necessarily agenda, but what those individuals truly do love to get after. Now, are all these things, these individual licenses, as you said, they're all going to one main? Like, are they all trying to aspire to go to like a Miss Universe, or those? I guess because those are the very like well-known ones.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, those are the televised ones that you usually kind of are familiar with, like the Olympics. Like a lot of athletes are trying to go to the Olympics because that's like the grand finale of things. Would this be considered stages to get to that point, or these are just individual ones and that's where they're set?
It's individual ones at the end of the day. The Miss Universe is its own competition, and have their own franchises throughout the United States. So then we have Miss Grand United States, and she goes compete at Miss Grand International.
Okay.
And then Miss Supranational USA, she then goes compete at Miss Supranational.
Okay.
And then our Eco girls, our Miss Eco USA, she goes compete at Miss Eco International. And then our Eco Teen, she goes compete at Miss Eco Teen International. And that's just like that cap for all those.
Okay.
None of ours intertwine with the Miss Universe organization or the Miss World organization or, Miss Earth. They're all different. They're all completely different systems. They look for completely different girls,
But would they ever intertwine with one another?
Maybe if they do events together.
Okay.
That's about it.
Is your entity here in the United States the same ones that organize ones in other countries, or is that different divisions? Okay.
No, yeah. So like we hold the USA license, right?
Okay.
So then the people in Canada will hold the Canada license. The people in Mexico will hold the Mexico license, and then like the Philippines, Venezuela, Poland, Africa, Egypt. Africa's a continent.
We get what you're saying.
South Africa. Let me
There you
see.
go, South Africa.
Yeah. How many countries are you guys in around the world?
Oh, okay. Jeez. Because due to the fact of COVID, the numbers for each division plummeted.
Okay.
Big. Before COVID, if I remember correctly, the Miss Grand organization was somewhere in the 80s.
Okay.
The Miss Supranational organization was somewhere in the 70s. And then Miss Eco was somewhere in the 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you brought up COVID. How did you guys kind of maneuver through that last year? Did you guys still have like an online pageant or?
Good question, because that was a very big conversation we had to have. Was when everything was going on, the industry had to like think fast on their feet. So some of the national organizations that hold license in America for other divisions, they held like, online pageants. you know? So the girls kind of submit everything through online, and they sat in the living room, or they recorded stuff, you know, like on the street. They were like in bikinis on the street submitting stuff, or they're in the living room in evening gowns. And when we sat down, we were seeing all that, we were like, we're not doing that. We don't want to do that because we pride ourselves of the experience we give the girls when they come here and compete for us. So we just pushed back the competition. But we knew that at the end of the day, no matter what was going to happen, we were going to have to send a girl. So as we pushed the pageant back, we kept, you know, informing all the contestants, like, we're going to keep pushing it back. You know, we hope you stay with us. And the minute we knew we were going to push it back, we had to appoint 2 girls for each one. And so what we did is we kind of scouted around. We didn't want to pick from the pool that we had at that point to make it fair. So we scouted and we found our 2 girls. Crazy that we found 2 amazing girls. Abina, we appointed her Miss Grand United States 2020, and she went to compete in Thailand just this past March, and she won the whole thing.
Wow. And she's from where in the
California. Yeah. So she went and competed, and she won the whole thing. So we have an international crown here in the United States. I think it's our like second one, not for us in general, but like for the United States for this year.
Yeah.
So it was exhilarating to see that on TV, knowing that like our girl went and competed and she won.
Yeah.
And then we also just recently appointed Shivali. She's actually about to go compete. At the end of this month. She leaves like August 1st, and she goes compete in Poland.
Wow.
Yeah. But we've had tremendous girls before that.
Now, how does the restrictions, I mean, but being that they're lifted, how are they still, because now we know the international aspect of it, it's around the world, so it's never in the same place. How does the restrictions still kind of lingering over these individual countries and stuff, how does that kind of affect what you're doing?
Yeah.
I mean, because there's still restrictions in multiple places.
Oh my God, I actually forgot about our other girls. I hope they don't hate me. Our Miss Eco USA and Miss Eco Teen USA, there was a new system we actually got during the pandemic.
Okay.
So we knew Alex from our previous competitions, and we really liked, we knew who she was and how strong a competitor she is. So we appointed her to go compete at Miss Eco International, and she got second runner-up.
Wow.
Okay.
And I was like, how can I forget that?
Yeah.
And then we we appointed Savannah around this time, I want to say last year, and she went to compete last October, and she did great. You know, she didn't place, but she won like smaller like awards. She won fitness and she won top model. So she went and she competed in Egypt as well. But
what is, like I said, this is
really quick. They have like a physique like competition as well too. When you say fitness, or like how is that? So it's like, is it on smarts as well? Is it on fitness? Like is it on like charismatic? Like what are the other?
That's a whole box to avail. Yeah. So each system has different things they're looking for in different parts of the competition.
Okay.
The Miss Eco organization, they have a ton of preliminary competitions. They have a fitness competition. They have a talent competition. They have like a resort competition. They have their interview. And then they have a preliminary where they just compete to win. And then they compete.
Are they
nights.
just like impress us?
Yeah. No, it's
do something.
What is everything you can do in your life?
And then the Miss Grand organization, they have a preliminary competition which consists of swimsuit and evening gown, but they also have like best in swimsuit beforehand. And I'll get a little bit more into what they had to do during COVID, to go back to your previous question. And then Miss Supranational, they have a ton of preliminaries too.
Yeah.
They have their evening gown, their swimsuit, there's like a national costume. All of them have national costumes. Then they have their interview, then they have this proportion called Super Chat, where they have a conversation with the current title holder. So there's like a lot. Each one's different.
Is that intimidating? The current title holder? Because there's like a sense of, does the current title holder, are they able to compete again?
For us, or just internationally?
International.
No. So once you go compete internationally for any system, you typically can't ever compete again. So it's like your one shot.
So what do they do afterwards, though?
They can go for other systems, or if that was their goal, just to be able to present the United States, they leave happy. You know, some of these girls, if they don't win, they're content. You know, they were just like, I got to go compete internationally with USA across my chest. She's like, that is more than I could have ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
Close. And so some of them are fine, or some of them just like, I still got that pageant bug. You know, there's other systems I can go for, so they'll just go compete at another one.
Do you see what's the odds of the ratio as far as transition? People that just kind of do the one and that's done, the one and done, or do you see a bigger percentage of people that go through other ones and like there has been what's the most that one woman has been able to achieve as far as systems?
Like win-win, like for USA or like just compete in general?
Well, Grand International, right? If they win that one,
Well, okay.
can they do other one and win those two as well? And what's the most?
No. So most of the time, once you win like the end all be all of that system, there's usually a non-compete within your contract. I don't recall what the non-competes are. I don't know if all of them have them, but I do know that most systems do.
Okay.
We don't have a non-compete, so if you win ours for USA, we literally were like, go ahead, go compete for another system. You know, we encourage you, we empower you to do it. But some other places just like straight up no non-competes. But it's usually not until you get to like the big dogs, like the top level.
Those usually have no non-compete.
Yeah.
Have you seen, and this is kind of a little, I guess maybe personal, but not, but have you seen girls who are kind of just a little devastated when that happens and you know what I mean? Some people just kind of not know where to move on from that stage. You know,
that's a good
like,
question, yeah.
what's next for me? Like, I thought this was it, you know what I mean? And then I didn't make it. Like, what transitions for a lot of those girls?
It actually happens quite often than most people think, because these women that go compete, they're so strong. And they always present themselves like the best way they can, best foot forward, especially online. So being on the back end of things and seeing when the competition's over, you get to see the girls that are completely devastated. And a lot of times what they do is they'll take a step back, they'll analyze things, and then they'll just kind of regather themselves, you know, and they'll just be like, was I the most authentic version of myself this time around? Mm-hmm. Or maybe this system isn't for me and I should try another system. So then those are conversations I know some other girls will have like within themselves. And then once they feel ready to go, they either come back to a system or they'll just go complete somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, maybe just a system was just not meant for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if in the aspect of like the winner, because you guys have had a winner of international aspects too as well, which is a big achievement, especially for your system. Those women, those individuals, like when they achieve that final success, like they won it, how do they accept it? Like, are they kind of like, I mean, because you got to think about it too. Like, let's just say if it was me and this was like my goal, this was my everything to compete, and I finally achieved it, I am the winner and I'm done. Do you have conversations with them like what's next, or it's like, what do you want to do? Do you have sit downs? Because like, I mean, imagine like that's, once you win it and you're done, like, what do you want to do next? Or what do you want to do anything next? Psychologically, I think it's kind of like a big moment.
So I can't speak for international winners because I'm a part of an international office. But what I've been able to see, obviously being a fan, you know, first and foremost, before I was like part of a production team, a lot of the girls that do win internationally, what I've seen is they've taken that fame they've gotten from it, and they've used it to, you know, progress their career or like start a new career path.
Okay.
You know, they use everything they've learned from it and just keep moving forward. Yeah. You know, I haven't fully seen one where they're completely devastated, but they could be, because once again, these women are so strong. Yeah. They will never let most people know that they're like devastated, that it's all over.
Along the way, they're all building their own brand as well too. So it's like whatever industry they want to tap into, they exactly have a solid base. Like you're Miss USA or something. You know what I mean? That's huge.
That's what I'm saying too. Is even okay. So maybe that's the end finale, I guess. But leading up to these things, how do you, especially where you say where there's so many different departments of each competition, where they have to compete in, like you said, the chat, or they have to compete with, the fitness aspect of it. How do you prepare someone for that?
Like, we gotta figure out your talents.
Do you guys have a few days? No,
because I think about that, and like I said, in all humble and all transparency, this is foreign to us. So for us to be just kind of naive to it, we would think like probably I'm assuming that's how some people do, where they're just, it's just a beauty competition. When then you look at it and we're getting this in-depth conversation, and we're like, wow, there's so many things that you have to be prepared for. That it's like, how do you prepare someone for that?
So when it comes to preparing the girls, after they win, myself and Adnan become their point of contact. So it's like my phone is open to them 24/7. So once that's established, then we go through a game plan. We're like, okay, we need to figure out your evening gown. We need to figure out your national costume. Where are you fitness-wise? Do you need to start going to the gym constantly? And even if they don't have to, most of these girls will just start going to the gym every single day, as much as they can. And then we talk about their walk, because our office is in Chicago. Some of our girls come from California, North Carolina, New York, Arizona. So then we're like, what do you have back home that can help you with your training? So then they'll use their resources back home to start helping them and train. But then we'll check in on them. We'll be like, hey, where are you with this? What's going on? Can we see your progress? And if it's something that we don't like, then we'll let them know. Like, we're blunt, because we want to make sure that they also have the best foot forward. But most importantly, while we're preparing them and, coaching them and giving them like trainings and whatever we can, we make sure they don't lose themselves.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost for us. We never want to send a girl that's not genuinely themselves, because then they don't compete well. We never want to change anybody. So then we also mold their training around that as well.
Okay.
I have a question for you more so, like, while you've been training all these these women in this event, like, have you had to kind of separate yourself from, like, maybe judging too hard at times? You know what I mean? Or, like, because you're constantly analyzing someone and how they go about their life, how they are as a person. Or is there moments where you have to, like, kind of, like, let me just be human, or, like, let me just kind of take, take a step back? Is there moments like that too, where you're like, because you're analyzing someone all the time in a way?
I want to say no.
Yeah.
Because we're so big on just making sure that these girls are still genuinely who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I've never had a moment where I'm like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
I'm being so mean, I'm being so rude.
Or not even in a mean way.
Or like
but
I'm
just in,
tearing them
like,
apart.
You're always looking like, you ever,
No. I don't think I have, because it's just open communication with them the entire time. So it's like, we know where the comfort level is at the end of the day.
So it's kind of like you get it out of them. How are you feeling? Like, okay, then let's talk about fixing that, what you just expressed to me type thing. Okay.
Now, is there times where, like, let's say, like Arizona, like you said, or California, if those are where your the women that you selected are coming from those states, do you get to the point where it's ever like, we don't like this, we're gonna go down there, or we need to fly you over here to fix certain things?
We've never had that.
She's not getting it. I gotta go.
We've never had that, thankfully.
We're on our way right now.
We've never had that. In retrospect, it's mainly we need to fly them in if we need to. We've flown in a few of our girls when we've had to be like, we need to get you here so we can continue preparation, because maybe the resources that we're going to give them are here.
Okay.
Like their photo shoots. We flew in 3 of our girls, or we drive down to them. But I mean, not really to them. We drove down to Missouri once to have one of our girls' official headshots taken. Oh my God. But to that aspect, no.
How long has it, just single out one. Well, which one of the what would you consider them again? Licenses. Which one of these licenses are in the longest run? Like, when did they start?
Like the organizations, when
Yeah.
did they start? I'm really bad at dates, so I hope they're not watching this.
I mean, we're talking like,
Well, Miss
decades?
Grand, no. Miss Grand International and Miss Supranational are fairly newer ones. They're within the past 10 years.
okay.
So I want to say Miss Grand International is heading towards their 9th queen, and Miss Supranational actually might be heading towards their 11th or 12th,
Okay.
something like that.
So do you see, and I have a question, a follow-up question. That's why I was asking
Oh,
this.
and Eco, sorry. That one I'm really bad with, but they've been around for quite some time.
I can knock you for this, because even me, I'm like, what? So if I label something wrong, please just
No,
smack
you're
me,
fine.
punch me in the
gibberish
face.
all the time.
The reason why I'm asking is because, especially with so many states, and trying to find pick a selection from every state, and then if you find a woman from that state that you're like, okay, this is going to be our selection, you have to have networks in those states too as well for these resources. Like, I mean, obviously you would think like you would essentially be able to Like when you said Missouri, did you drive your own person down there to take the shots?
Yeah. I mean, I drove my director and myself down to Missouri, and our girl from Tennessee met us in Missouri. I got a flat tire on the way to Missouri.
Because that's what I'm assuming is like over time, you're developing this network, this web of individuals like videographers, like people that are the walk. Where do you go to perfect it? Like, who are you going to in these areas? Like in Chicago, you all are from Chicago. Yeah. Where do you go for specialists in these specific genres? How do you find them? Where do they get in contact? Because that's a tough thing. Like people think like, oh, it's just walking. Like no, like I watched it. I was watching it in preparation. I was like, holy shit! Like I'm intimidated just looking at this. So where do you go to perfect these things? Like how do you get involved even in those aspects of it?
A lot of it kind of goes back to what I said before. It just comes from our girls, because since we're also still fairly new, we're still trying to build our network, and our peoples. But we have people from the past that we've worked with.
Okay.
They're all mainly from Illinois. So as we've been growing, and even with some of the help of our directors that we do have, which we don't have many, in different states, they sometimes aid us with their resources.
Okay.
And then we just kind of keep going off of that. So if we, have a girl and they're using like their walking coach or their photographer, their videographer, and there's just something about them we really like, then we might just link up. One of the photographers that just came in for this past production, Fell's photo, I believe it is. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong. She actually came through from our previous title holder, Regina.
Okay.
She did her headshots for when she went to compete internationally, and I think we reached out to her, and we brought her in for this year, and she's phenomenal. And that's how we created that network with her.
Now, what are you looking for specifically when you make these selections? So, also, two questions, because I'm like rolling with questions right now.
Go for it.
Specifically, what are you looking for? And also, a separate question is, have you experienced where a lot of these individuals that are assisting with training and assisting with like the walk and stuff, are they past, have you get some return like past winners that convert into coaching, convert into training and such things like that, because they would be experts in it as well?
Yes. So when it comes to, I think if I remember your first question correctly, I don't know so much about how the conversations go when we get them, because that's not my jurisdiction at the end of the day. We have a whole separate team for that. Usually, sometimes it'll be like my boss, Adnan, or it'll be Yassine, or I think Israel, who's the CEO. Yassine's the VP, my boss is the president. And those conversations they have. I just know like once it happens. And then I'll get the rundown and explain things to me. But to your last question, yes, our Miss Supranational USA, Regina Gray, she's now going to come on board as our interview coach.
Okay.
Now, as a trainer yourself, right?
I don't really train.
Not really a trainer?
No.
Okay. So when you do work on with a girl, like what is are you just a point of contact? You take care of everything? Okay.
Yeah, I'm like the point of contact. So usually they'll go straight to me first, and they'll ask me things like, hey, can I do this? Can I not do that? Can you provide me with the paperwork that I need to submit for internationals? They'll be like, yeah, I'll send that. Or if like we have directors that want to fly them to their state, for them to go watch the competition, they'll contact the office and they'll let me know, and then I'll tell the girls. Okay. So I'm kind of like their assistant, but not really like their manager more than anything.
Yeah, you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Assuming. Now, what have you seen that you've kind of improved on or changed, let's say in the last like 3 years, that you're kind of doing now that you weren't necessarily doing before? Like, have you kind of changed your day to day? Are you educating yourself on a consistent basis? Like, what are you doing things to be a stronger value to everything?
After every national competition and even internationals, I do evaluate myself, and I kind of look into what could have I done better, what did I horribly do wrong, and there's been a lot more growth than there has been more satisfaction with my performance. So what I'll do is I'll look into it, and then I'll even just ask my boss. My boss is very honest with me, and he'll be like, sometimes you're way too nice. He's like, you sometimes need to separate yourself a little bit, He's like, because you need to be able to manage these girls. Or sometimes I have a hard time saying no, but I have to say no. Or I take on too much sometimes, and then like I'll get overwhelmed, and sometimes I'll like drop the ball on a few things here and there. So then afterwards, I'll look at that, and now I'm even more crazy about my calendar, and more crazy about my notes, and more crazy about my task and everything. So that way I don't ever do that again.
Got you.
There's like a forgiving aspect of it too, because everyone's learning.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just like we're our biggest critic,
Yeah.
You have to be,
especially when we're trying to grow. So, and with me especially, I'm so hard on myself, super hard on myself, and it's like my biggest downfall ever.
What another thing I thought of too as well is like what is the if there is any, the sponsorship that comes with these individual organizations? Because I mean, you would think that these women that are getting involved in this, they're trying to make a living with it too as well. So do you see a growth in sponsorship over the years? Do you see sponsorship usually? Where are they usually coming from too as well? Because like I said, I wouldn't even know what it would look like.
Sponsorships are very hard, very, very, very hard, especially in the pageant community. Because a lot of sponsors want to see a return. Like what are they getting out of it? So it's not like, so when it comes to pageantry, a lot of times companies don't see a return on investment. So it's kind of hard to get them on board. But this past year really helped us out with this past competition. And we are seeing more of an improvement on our sponsorship retention. So thankfully,
Right.
But it's been hard.
I'm assuming like the sponsorships kind of would make sense towards the girl as well. Like if she's into farms, or about wildlife, maybe get a wildlife sponsorship.
Yeah,
or,
I mean, they're probably tailored around.
Not necessarily.
Their interests.
When it comes to our sponsorships, it's
Yeah.
always going to be tailored for us to be able to put on a production, and also for us to see what we can provide for the girl for the international competition first and foremost. Because that's the heavy load.
Okay.
So that's where we put a lot of that sponsorship on. But if a girl, a lot of girls do have passions for something.
Yeah.
But most of the time, once they come on, they have that organization already behind them. Or sometimes they'll ask me like, hey, where should I look? And sometimes I'll help them look. I'll be like, okay, what does they want to look at? Stuff like that. So then I'll spend a day online, and I'll start in the area to see what organizations or foundations are in there, so they can start reaching out to them, so they can start working with them, hopefully.
Has there been instances where you had to maybe turn down the sponsorship because it just wasn't making sense at the end of the day, or has there been any kind of thing along that way?
Thankfully, no, not yet. I'm gonna say not yet, but thankfully, no.
Yeah.
What as far as your organization and the ones you're involved in, where I wouldn't want to just say like, oh, you just want to have winners. What do you see in the future as far as your ambitions, like as a team? Like what do you realistically, the next 5 years or the next year in general, especially with COVID, I mean, not necessarily to always bring the bummer of COVID and, kind of like that overwhelming year, but that really shook the business aspect and the marketing aspect for a lot of businesses. And that kind of, sink or swim for a lot of businesses too as well, especially with your organization. What do you see in the future to better improve in case those things happen again, or even if that never happens again, to kind of better build a foundation around your company? It's a heavy loaded question. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
I'm like trying to process.
I'm trying to digest it myself.
He's like, give me a minute.
I was like,
I hope we do good in the next 10 years.
I'm like, hold on. I was like, I think I know what he's asking me, but let me.
He's like, I got PTSD from all of that year. Please.
I was like, please. No. So for us, at the end of the day, I want to say in the future, because I don't want to put a timeline on it, because again, it's the pageant industry. It's so hard. I know we want to be a household name at one point, because here in the United States, household names in the pageant community, for the most part, for pageant people and non-pageant people alike, is Miss USA, Miss Universe, and Miss America. I would hope so. So we want to be up there with those two systems. We want to be a mixture of people like want to compete with us nonstop. People are like urging to compete with our system, So that's hopefully where we want to keep going forward. Oh my God. That's where we want to keep moving towards.
Okay.
How does that happen?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, what do you see?
Not that it's not happening, but how does that happen in something like that?
I would say first and foremost is, it comes from the core. So it'll be our national competition, you know, when the girls are here. So what we really pride ourselves on is the experience the girls get when they're here. When the girls have good experiences here, they will talk about it. They'll let people know, you know, and that's where we as an organization truly believe it's how we're going to start moving forward, you know, because if the girls come here and we're just like, you're here to compete, get on stage, goodbye. And then because these girls invest a lot of time and a lot of money into this. So so if we don't give them that experience, they're just like, well, why did I do all this for? You know? So when they come here, we do our best to for sure give them the best experience ever. And then afterwards, for the girls that do win, you know, we at least want to continue showing them that you're just not a title holder, you know, like this is a family at the end of the day. And we're hoping that also carries along to what people see within our organization.
Is there like a fine line that someone has to walk to where it's like, take it serious because you want to compete, you want to win, but also don't take it so serious that you feel devastated if you don't, you know, like, I feel like that's something important too to,
it kind of goes back to the most cliche thing that girls say when they compete and they win. It's just going out there and just being yourself. You know, a lot of girls will compete and then they take it, you know, way too serious sometimes. And then they'll come back and they may not win, but they're happy with it at the end of the day because they were genuinely themselves. You know, they had the best foot forward. They went in. They're like, if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. And they had fun the entire time. So that is a huge portion where that comes from.
Now, where do you, now to go back to that original question where I said the organization, where I feel like we're having a competition with you right now. Athletics, let's go.
Where's the talent? Do something.
I can twerk.
Where do you individually, because right now that I'm kind of like thinking about it, it's like in my head, I'm like, I feel like I'm asking questions that you would
I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, how would I do in the pageant?
Where do you personally, we talked about the overall goals of the organization, but personally with you, where do you want to, where do you see yourself? What things do you want to work on? I know you say you have evaluations after every competition, I'm assuming even monthly if in that case, but where do you aspire to move forward to in this career path?
So with the organization itself, for my own personal goals, I want to make sure I can help, you know, every aspect I can. That's my jurisdiction anyways. I'm not trying to take too many hands in one pot. And move forward to hopefully, you know, be able to produce a huge show, you know, like be able to be like at the Allstate Arena, at the T-Mobile Arena, you know. But for me personally, if, you know, let's just say all this just doesn't work out, I want to be able to grab all this experience and, you know, start probably working for productions, you know, to probably really start focusing on events because I love that stuff. I think it's so interesting and it's so thrilling to be able to go in somewhere and put something together and like sit back and just let it like watch it all just kind of go down and you're like, wow, I did that, you know? So that's where I would like organization wise, that's where I would like to go. And then personal wise, just in case it doesn't go that direction, that's the other way I would like to go.
Sab, do you have anything specific? I'm sorry, I don't overwhelm you.
I mean, something that's kind of crossed my mind while we're talking, just because it's happening in sports where there's a lot of confliction with transgender stepping into that world too. Does that happen with the beauty pageants?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
The organizations that we currently have do not allow for transgender women to compete, but there are other organizations that do.
Okay.
The Miss Universe organization is one that does allow. We actually have a transgender woman who just won the Nevada state competition, so now she'll be the first one to compete in Miss USA.
And that was in your...
No, that's in Miss Universe. Yeah, Miss USA goes into Miss Universe. But also 2 years before that, Spain sent a transgender woman to compete at Miss Universe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you see that it's going to be an overall transition of these things happening? I mean, like it's becoming more welcomed in certain organizations? Or do you feel like maybe there might be separate competitions that would allow it? Like more, it may not be pre-existing competitions and organizations. They may actually generate new ones that would be tailored around that.
Well, there are existing competitions that allow transgender women to compete in.
Okay.
One of them is called International Queen. There are many out there. There are many out there. It's not just like the ones that we have or the ones that you guys know. When I tell you there's a plethora of pageants for people to compete in, There's a lot.
Is there men's pageants?
Yeah.
That's what we were asking too. I was like, is it just like Mr. Olympia or something like that?
No, there is.
Okay.
Before I get to that, it's going to be based on organization.
Okay.
You know, each organization is different and depends on who owns it, whether they support it or they don't. You know, and it just that's at the end of the day, that's just how it's going to roll.
Okay.
You know, and then back to your question, our Miss Supranational competition has a male equivalent. And the current title holder for Mr. Supranational, he's actually from USA. He won last year. Yeah, but there's a lot. Like
What's
there's
his name? Sebastian?
no, it's
It's me.
you're like it's me. Hey, it's me. No, his name's Nate. I'm not even gonna try to attempt his last name.
Okay.
But yeah, he came from Nebraska, and he went and competed, and he won the entire thing.
Like my town, like I would just DJ in the middle of the.
They were like, turn
my-
this
You'd be
trash
like-
off.
Yeah.
You'd be like, y'all thought you already had a show.
Y'all like that song, right?
I mean, what's the contrast between the woman competitions and the men? Is it usually the same categories that they have to compete in, or is it you see a
my
difference?
question to that is like the audience. Is it more of like a women tailored audience? Is it a men? Like who goes to these?
Oh, okay. I can't speak too much to it, unfortunately, because we don't dwell in the male systems.
Yeah.
We like to just stick to the female systems.
Same
But
Who do we need to talk to for answers?
Same here.
her name's Marissa. She's great. I know the one who owns the license for the Mr. competition, but I
Okay.
have watched it, you know, because obviously it's our counterpart. So
Yeah.
I got
It's intriguing.
yeah,
how
and
they
then
do
I
it.
got the opportunity to go and watch the male competition back in May for the USA. In Nevada. They had it in Las Vegas. So I went there because our title holder at that time, she got invited to be a judge.
Okay.
So I flew with her, you know, and I was there with her, and then we went to watch.
Is that a 10-point scale? What is the judging?
I don't know, actually. Every system is different. Some systems will do like a 1 through 10.
It's like yay or nay.
Yeah, no, it actually, some of them are.
Green card or red card, you're out.
You're just like, just get off the stage.
What about for the organizations that you are in? What's the scale of that? Is it is it a grade scale? Is it a point system?
We base it off kind of
Comment wise, like as far as like
oh god,
It's a feeling.
my
I
boss
think it
man
was
so much better explaining this.
Nebraska.
No, so it's based on just one singular point, and it's based on the judge, who the judges like at the end of the day.
Okay.
You know, so what it is let's just say we have the 51 contestants. And gosh, I hope I don't get this wrong because I know they're gonna watch and be like, man, you messed it up. And I believe it's the judges get all the contestants and they're there for preliminary and whatever, and then they're like, okay, we're only gonna have a top 20. Choose your 20. And so then they appoint their 20, and each judge is going to be different. So now afterwards, the girls get their points. Some girls will have 10s across the board. Some girls might even have a single point. And then afterwards, they put them in order, like who got the most points, who got the least points. And they're like, okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. Is that right? And then we break down the 20. And then just say the next cut's going to be the top 10. So then the girls will compete in that part of the competition. And then the judges will be instructed, all right, you saw the girls, pick your 10. So then the judges will be like, all right, these are my 10. Yeah. So then they'll shoot their scores over, and then they'll tally them all up. Boom, tally it all up. And then you'll see it, and they'll be like, okay, these are the top 10. And then they'll compete. And they'll be like, all right, judges, you saw your top 10. Now choose your 5. And then they'll go through, and then they'll pick their 5. And this is the part where I always get tripped up. And I believe afterwards, it's once you have the top 5, then the judges are instructed to rank the girls. Their best, their number 1 to their 5th place. And then based on what place they got, that's the points they get. So like if the judge placed you as first place, I think you get 5 points, second place 4 points, third place 3 points, fourth place 2 points, 5th place 1 point. And then it's just like, and then that's how you get your winner.
It's like a Scantron
I would start running out of things to judge. Like on that last round, I'm just like, well, her shoulders don't match.
I don't like the way she sat down right there. I don't like that.
She didn't smile at me.
One thing too as well, and then we'll be able to wrap this up too as well. But it kind of just came to me as far as for the judging. Is there controversy with this? Do you see controversy in the judging scales? Do you see backlash sometimes when the winner is chosen?
All the time.
Because I come from like knowledge of like sports backgrounds, and usually if there's like fights going on, it's referees and judges that are from different states that have no relations to the fighters or the competing teams. So do you see that too as well, especially with international? Do you get judges that are from specific countries and places?
I do want to quickly reference back to something you said. As the competition goes on, the girls are actually competing in different phases of the competition. So the judges are looking for something different every single time.
Oh, okay.
That's
Like, that would throw it off if everyone's looking for something
No,
different.
no, yeah.
Like,
So you'll have judges that are like their thing that they look at the most might be the talent section, and they may judge stronger on that talent section than other judges. They may look at it differently.
It depends on what the preliminary score will look like at that point.
Okay.
So, because on final night, it's a whole different set of competition.
random question. Have you seen a talent that like blew you away? You're like, whoa, that was random.
Like in a good way or a
No,
bad
in a
way?
good way. Like
Oh,
it was
I was like,
even a bad way.
It was a curveball talent. You're like, I did not expect that.
I'm a little biased with this answer, not gonna lie, mainly because there's not many organizations that do talent. ECO is one of them. Supranational does talent, but it's optional all the time. But competition-wise, our girl Alex, she blew me away when she competed internationally. I think she actually won the talent portion, the preliminary. She was an incredible dancer, and she was pretty rusty. Well, she says she was rusty. We like went into the studio, and I was like, all right, what do you have so far? And I was just like, girl, that's rusty. I was
Because you have a dance background too. That's why you're biased.
Like-
I know.
no, yeah. And I mean, there's just,
She had a dance routine.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Her and I think her friend were just back home when they were coming together, and they were just choreographing. And when she came in to do our headshots, I want to say, we went up to a studio and she showed me it, and I just kind of gave her some of my own feedback. I was like, I would change a little bit of this, focus a little bit on that. But she was incredible. I mean, some of the singers are really good.
Yeah.
That have competed, but none have really blown me away. But again, like that answer is pretty biased.
Okay.
And then
Controversy.
There's always going to be controversy, no matter what it is. You can't please everybody at the end of the day.
Okay.
No matter what. Because at the end of the day, pageantry is also subjective. Because what one judge will like, another's not. So no matter who wins, who doesn't win, someone's always not going to be happy with the results.
That's.
Do you have a person in mind that is either actor or singer, current or past, that you were like, they could have been a title holder?
Well, I don't have to think of one. Priyanka Chopra, who was married to Nick Jonas, she was Miss World.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do not know who that is, but
I do. She is.
Nick Jonas is pretty big.
She's talented.
Yeah.
She's talented. She has natural beauty.
Oh,
I don't know if that's
gorgeous.
If that's
gorgeous. I became obsessed with her because I started watching this show called Quantico, and she was like the lead on it, and I was just like,
yeah.
Oh, she acts as well.
yeah, she's an actress. She does it all.
Oh.
She does it all. This girl does it all.
Can I act my way through the pageant?
Yeah, but the people know you're fake.
Be you.
Yeah,
He's not really like that.
Yeah. Some of these, you'd be surprised. Some of these, like, some people can read right through it. I feel like sometimes I can read right through it, but I'm also someone who's like, gives everyone a benefit of doubt, and I always think everyone's a great person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But
That doesn't work out, man.
I know.
That never works out.
That's another thing my boss always tells me. So
What
it's
about
like,
man-wise, male-wise, as far as like someone that you think celebrity-wise that can be? That was a good pick. I wouldn't have thought that you would.
I mean, it's like the first one that comes to my head. And I think if I'm not mistaken, Halle Berry also competed in pageants.
I can see that.
And I mean, Beyonce at one point, I believe.
She is a pageant.
I mean, she's just the queen.
She's
She's just the queen. Male-wise, I can't really answer that question because I'm not too like informed of the male pageant world to really be like, he would totally do good in a male
I
pageant.
feel like The Rock, maybe not now, but maybe he's like got that old look to him right now.
The Rock would be good, like a Mr. Olympia type thing.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
I don't know about.
Maybe.
You got a bunch of like
He's got
very
a great
like,
personality though, man. I'm like, man, this guy.
he's got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else got it?
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
Idris Elba, or
Yeah.
Idris? Am I saying it right? Idris.
I think it's Idris.
I never say it right, so I always avoid the name.
Yeah. Good
Well,
guy.
listen, Edgar, appreciate everything you're doing, man. honestly, this is one of my favorite interviews because I had no idea of any of these things.
This was cool.
I think Sab would probably say the same thing too as well. It was a pleasure having you here. We would definitely love to do it again, especially in the settings that you're in. Maybe do some like behind the scenes stuff as far as like you like pulling your hair out and going crazy and everything. But like I said, anytime you want to get back on the podcast, you're more than welcome. You answered all of our questions and you were perfect. I know you said you were nervous.
Oh my God.
But you were perfect.
I'm still shaking.
Yeah, you were perfect for it, and everything went well. Sab, you have any last notes?
No, this was great, man. I wish you the best in the next coming years in your career, and I know a lot of women that are gonna get to work with you are gonna be very grateful. So that's awesome.
No, I mean, thank you guys first and foremost for giving me this opportunity. I think it's awesome that you guys took an interest to want to learn about it, because not many people really care to learn about the pageant industry because everyone thinks it's such a superficial world. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you guys took an interest to really learn about it, understand that it's more than just that, and it's more to it, and girls are really more about that, and giving me that spotlight, I cannot thank you guys enough for.
I'm glad I know someone that is so well versed in it.
One day.
I mean, next competition, you guys are more than welcome to come.
You guys need a judge.
I mean, I might. We might. So, but yeah, I'm be more than happy to come back. I think it was really fun. I'm still super nervous, but thank you so much. I really had a lot of fun. You guys make it easy. Not gonna lie, you guys make it super easy.
It was a natural setting because it was something that we were intrigued by. When you get guests that sometimes you're just like, we've heard, not to say like, music or something like that. You kind of know those things. You know certain questions to ask. I was just going off the top of like a kid, just like what about this? What about this? What do you guys do here? So it was fascinating, and I'm pretty sure like our viewers will definitely love hearing you talk about this. So thank you, and we're out. Thank you so much. Tuning in.